Welcome to the Bettis Musgrove Show, the podcast where personal injury legal expertise meets real-world advice to empower and protect you. Join us as we delve into the critical aspects of personal injury cases, break down legal jargon into actionable insights, and share essential safety tips to help you navigate life's unexpected moments. And now, here are your hosts, Spencer Bettis and Ben Musgrove.
All right, well, welcome to the Bettis Musgrove Show. As always, I'm Ben Musgrove. This is my law partner, Spencer Bettis. We have a boutique law firm in Cumming, Georgia that specializes in personal injury. We've been doing this podcast now this is our fourth episode. Over the past few episodes, we've kind of told you about who we are, what we do for a living. Last week, we sort of went outside the box a little bit, and we brought in a State Farm agent to talk to us about insurance, the different types of insurance, and recommendations on what someone should have in their policy. And we learned a lot from it, got a lot of good feedback from that episode. And I think the one takeaway for everybody is that if you have any questions about insurance, you should probably call your agent and just take their advice on what they're telling you to get, because we learned that 1 in 4 drivers in Georgia doesn't have insurance, which is just mind-blowing. I knew it was high, but I didn't know it was that high. But anyway, for this episode, we thought we'd sort of bring it back in and talk a little bit more about us and what we do and sort of the practice of law. Specifically, a few things have happened over the past couple of weeks that make today's topic relevant in our lives anyway, and we thought we would share it with you guys. So without further ado, partner, it's good to be here with you today on this beautiful spring day. Got Atlanta Braves baseball kicking off tomorrow. That's always my favorite time of the year. How are things with you?
Good. Yeah, I can't wait for opening day. Good. So I want to talk a little bit about today about, we've talked about what we do. We've talked about insurance, talked about personal injury law. But today we want to talk about why we do what we do. And so something that kind of came to mind, kind of sparked my interest and helped me write some of this past week is a couple weeks ago I went to a client's funeral, unfortunately. I helped him out several years ago, and walking in the door with his family, it was like we saw each other every day. They traded stories. They talked to me. They showed appreciation for what I'd done for them, even to this day. And I think it was 4 or 5 years ago when I helped them out. So that really struck me. And it was kind of a moment, kind of an aha moment to say, this is why I do this. Yeah. And so I don't bring that up to highlight anything that I did specifically for them. But it got me thinking. And in personal injury law, we come across clients that have been hurt. Something's happened to them, something potentially catastrophic.
Every day.
Yeah. And they're just different. Some are wealthy, some are poor. Some have health insurance, some don't. And we have to navigate that and kind of help them through that process.
Yeah.
And it's a puzzle. A lot of times it's a very interesting puzzle that we've just got to get through and help guide them through. And part of what that event, did for me is, as lawyers, we get in the rat race. We get busy.
Yeah.
We don't always think about the why. So it was a good reminder that we are there for these people. We are the conduit. We are the access to the legal system for them. The mouthpiece. We can help them out. We're their lifeline when they're dealing with a permanent injury, financial ruin, and we are there to help them, bring them comfort, and kind of help guide them through that process. Losing this client who I've known for a long time made it a pretty difficult day at the office, and that's, was kind of down, struggling with it a bit, but it really hit home to go and see that his family is still talking about it to this day.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to share it here. Kind of just said, hey, I want to talk about this. And that's what got me on our topic for today is what it means to truly be an advocate.
Right.
Not just a lawyer, but be an advocate and be a good one at that. So I thought we could start with some stories on top of what I just shared. And so, Ben, I'm sure you have some. Why don't you share some stories with us?
Yeah, absolutely. And I could say, honestly, it's not surprising to me that they still remember what you did for the family 4 years ago. I mean, you're a phenomenal lawyer, so take it as a compliment that you did a great job and hold on to that. But, yeah, I think I agree completely, and it's probably something getting in that rat race that we take for granted more often than not. You know, we everything's based on final results, end results, and how we're going to, handle a case and where it's going to go and what it's going to earn for the client and for us selfishly. So I get it, and I think it's unfortunate that it takes something like a death to sort of bring you back in and remind you of the why we do this every single day. But it is nice to get that reminder occasionally. Hopefully it's not through a death, but to get the reminder of this is why I do this. And, when you talk about stories, over my career, I've had the privilege, a very distinct privilege, of representing hundreds, if not thousands of people in different personal injury settings. And there are obviously, I like to think that I've helped everybody in some way, that I've had an impact on everybody's life. But what I can say is that there are several, probably a majority of the clients that I've helped that have certainly had an impact on my life. Sort of my three go-to stories that I talk about. The first one, very early in my career, I had the opportunity to represent a girl that I had known for a while. She had been involved in a really, really bad car wreck. This elderly man ran a stop sign, did not mean to, he was just old, didn't see it, and went through it. And it was right in front of her, and she didn't have time to react, and she T-boned the driver's side of this vehicle. Catastrophic car wreck. She was injured really badly. Unfortunately, the man that was driving the at-fault vehicle passed away at the scene, which obviously weighed on her really hard. And then her spine was completely compromised. She had to have surgery to rebuild her spine and sort of get her feeling back. And she lost a lot of use of her arms and her hands, and she worked for a commercial airline company at the time. And because of her disability, she ultimately lost her job at the airline. And she was pretty young at the time. She was a single mother. She had a very young daughter. And I think all of that, the death, the injuries, the loss of the job, really just sort of compounded. Fortunately, she had a very loving mother who was there by her side through all of it. Literally held her hand through the process and got in touch with me. We were able to get her into counseling, get her to see some of the best spine doctors out there. And eventually, we didn't get her back to 100%. They got her as close as they could, but she got better. And I will say, what struck me in this case is that more than anything, she and her mother did not want to burden this old man's family. He had already passed away. They were adamant, we're not going to take his money. We're not going to put his family through something that they don't deserve to be put through. And it was just really telling to me the type of people that they were. And fortunately, the man had a very good insurance policy. And without too much of a fight, they gave us those policy limits. And the mom carried a very nice underinsured motorist policy for her and her daughter, which also kicked in without too much of a fight. So we got a really, really nice policy limit settlement. Got all of her medical bills paid for, gave her a very nice check at the end of it. And so I know that made an impact. But what I took from it is probably even greater in that there are good people out there who get hurt and want to do the right thing. And I was able to be that conduit to help them still get the compensation they needed, but not burden the family of the man that had passed away. What's also cool about it is I still talk to her pretty regular. We stay in contact. How's the family doing? She checks in on my family. For a long time, I talked with her mom every day. Unfortunately, her mom passed away a couple of years ago unexpectedly, but they became part of my life. They helped kickstart my career, and that's where the impact really came in. Another story, much more lighthearted, is I got the pleasure of representing a man named Solomon. Solomon got in just your regular car accident, nothing catastrophic. He was hurt, and he missed a good bit of time from work. He worked for a printing publisher, and he was concerned about the amount of time that he had to miss from work and how it was going to affect his retirement. And we were able to take all that into consideration with his medical specials or his damages and his time away from work. And we got him a nice check at the end. It wasn't anything earth-shattering, but it was a good check, and I think he was fully satisfied. I thought it was a good settlement. But Solomon quickly became one of my favorite clients of all time. We just became buddies. That's really the only way to put it. To this day, Solomon and I still talk. I don't want to say weekly, but all the time. He gives me a call, just checks in, how's the family doing, how the girl's doing, what's going on in cheerleading, that type of thing. And I know that I made an impact on him because he does call and check in, but I also know every single time a friend or a family member has something happen to him that needs legal intervention, he calls me. How can you help him? Is this something you can do? And more often than not, it's no, I don't do that. I just do personal injury, but here's a buddy of mine that can, and then I send him somebody I know to take care of him. And that relationship has really just grown over the years. And it's all because of the car wreck, but it's because I was an advocate. And I think the way that I handled his situation that we were able to connect. And then not to get too long-winded on it, but a third story that I think about all the time is a confidential case. I can't really talk about the results of the case or the parties involved, but I represented a young girl who was at her brother's soccer practice, and a big soccer goal, was not secured to the ground like it was supposed to be, and the wind blew it over onto this little girl and fractured her leg really, really badly. I can't remember now how old she was, but I want to say 7. And bones are still growing, changing. Took forever for them to get the bones to heal correctly. And even when they took the cast off, eventually the leg was deformed, and took them a really long time to get her back to where she could actually use the leg like she was used to using it. We got involved with the lawyers, and we had to advocate. We had to get pediatric orthopedists to come in and talk about the growth plates in the leg and that type of thing. And it was really putting forth this plan of how this was going to affect the little girl and how she was going to grow. And at the end, the defense counsel realized the case that we had, and they put up a number that I thought was sufficient. And because she was a minor, this from your probate days, we had to put it into basically a trust that's going to be maintained for her until she's 18 years old, where she can access it. And that's still several years away, but I know when she turns 18 and she's able to access that money, her college is paid for, her wedding's paid for, she puts down a down payment on her first house. That made an impact. And I'm proud that I was able to do that, go chase down the buckets that we talked about, find the evidence that we needed so that I could properly advocate for that young girl. And that's one of my prouder moments, I would say, in my career.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing those. Definitely an impact, and it's really cool to hear how you made a relationship with people that's still there today. That's a big part of being an advocate, in my opinion.
Yeah, and honestly, I think, not every client that we have, obviously, but a lot of them. I continue to have a relationship with a lot of my clients, whether it's just Christmas time, they check in, say Merry Christmas, and send me a box of chocolates or something, and I try to do the same. But it's just knowing, keeping in touch. How's your life going? I know you went through something bad, but let me know how things are, and if there's anything else I could do in the future, I'm certainly happy to do that.
Yeah, very cool. I think, too, dealing with injuries and death, somewhere where we can be helpful in those situations for that grieving family or that family that's coping is to help them get answers. And answers they might not receive otherwise. And so we've had a couple cases here recently. I've had some clients express, hey, I'm just glad that somebody's helping me uncover what happened to my family member.
Right.
Or what happened in that particular event. And some that are just happy to get to tell their side of the story. Whether, maybe the police report says one thing or the insurance company says one thing about how it happened, and we're able to show through our client, this is what really happened.
Right.
And so that, I think, has been something people have really appreciated. And that's where we get to be advocates. That's where we get to show, to uncover that information or to show the real side of the story. And we are leveling the playing field is the way I like to look at it.
Right.
To make sure that the client's fully represented.
Yeah, especially when you're dealing with these, huge multi-state billion-dollar insurance companies. You have to level the playing field.
Yeah. And it kind of made me think about the quintessential lawyer that all of us attorneys strive to be, a fictional character, Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird.
Right.
And he had this legendary closing argument where he mentioned, and I won't read the whole thing, but that he said, I'm no idealist to believe firmly in the integrity of our courts and our jury system. That's no ideal to me. That is a living, working reality.
Yeah.
And that just hits me. I think that's truly why we're here. And I don't say that to be flippant about it. That's important to me and to you, I know.
Sure.
And our judicial system isn't perfect by any means. Mistakes are made. But when two lawyers or lawyers who know what they're doing square off, advocating for their client, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Two professionals that are in the room doing the best for their client. That's what we're here for.
Sure. I think it's, if you've ever got to watch two good lawyers spar, it's a battle. An absolute battle when they're going at it. And it's funny, as soon as the curtain drops, they can go back to being normal human beings and they're shaking hands and talking about the soccer game or whatever. But at the time, it is full-on war. And I think that your point, it leads to something else. When you brought this topic to me, I spent a good bit of time thinking about it. And I really was asking myself, what is something that someone should look for when they're hiring an attorney, when they're trying to find that advocate? What kind of attorney would someone want? Certainly lawyers are not one size fits all. Every single one of us is different personalities, different quirks, different strategies, different experience levels. And I think it's important for when somebody's looking for a lawyer that they go shop around. You don't have to call one guy and hire that person. Go call somebody else and see what you think about them. And I encourage that all the time. I think it's, I love how you went to Atticus Finch and To Kill a Mockingbird. I'm probably not so romantic when I think about big shot lawyers. I go to Harvey Specter in Suits, just an absolute stone cold killer, or Matthew McConaughey in A Time to Kill, and that closing that he delivers at the end of that trial, and he's, everybody close your eyes and picture. I just imagine myself doing that one day. Probably never going to happen, but I love the scene, and then there's Joe Pesci and My Cousin Vinny when he's got this cross-examination going. I love the idea of getting to a cross-examination and getting to talk about grits and utes. It cracks me up. And these are my lawyers, and completely different lawyers. You got your big shot New York lawyer, you got your slow-speaking Southern lawyer, you got one that wasn't even a lawyer, and they're all advocating for their clients. And I think that it's important to realize these personalities. But I think it's also important to be able to use these personalities on an everyday basis because every situation is different. So
right.
I may need to be Harvey, and I may need to be that stone-cold killer one day that walks in and just burns the place down. But on the other hand, I may need to be Matthew McConaughey that day and come in and just real slow draw, pull out my country boy and talk about what's going on and sort of sweeten up whoever it is that I'm talking about. So you want to find a lawyer who can do all of these things and who can really be an advocate through those things. And I think it also is important to realize, I get this call all the time when somebody's looking to hire me. They say, are you an aggressive lawyer? And it's like, well, I don't know, am I? I think they want somebody who's going to be aggressive and who's going to go out and punch the insurance company in the mouth. And it's going to, give them their day in court and give them that retribution, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I think people need to realize that there's a difference between being aggressive and being an advocate. You don't have to be aggressive to be an advocate.
Right.
There's a time and a place to be aggressive, certainly. I like to tell people I'm a very nice person. I'm pretty easy to get along with, pretty easy to work with. But if you cross me, I have no problem going full aerial assault on you. I will bring hellfire down on you if I have to. Fortunately, that's very rare. Most of the time, in our cases, the facts are generally pretty clear. Right. Liability is proven. The damages are what they are. The injuries are what they are. And so a lot of times I'll just show my cards. Here it is. This is what we've got. Take it or leave it. You're not going to beat it. So I recommend that you take it. And if they do, great. We had a nice relationship. We got a good result. Everybody moves along. If they don't, maybe it's time to burn it down. It just depends on really the reaction that I'm getting. And just like lawyers or plaintiffs' lawyers, insurance adjusters are all different. You get one who has no interest in you. It's just a job. They come in 9 to 5. This is what I got. I don't feel like talking to you. You get other ones that want to develop a relationship, and they'll actually negotiate with you and talk to you about it. Same with defense attorneys. Some of them just are completely removed from the situation. They're billing their .2 for the phone call, and then they're moving on. They're never thinking about you again.
Yeah.
Other defense attorneys, they'll actually sit down and talk to you about it. Yeah, I think these are good points to your case. I think these are your bad points. I think this is why we're going to win. I think this is why you're going to win, et cetera. And you're able to sort of reach a conclusion just by being an advocate and using your specific skill sets and the experience you've built on. So I think people be careful when you are looking for an aggressive lawyer. There are lawyers out there who are just all the time aggressive. Yeah. I don't know that that's always beneficial. Sometimes you just want somebody who can sit back and look. Law is a chess game. You don't want to necessarily move all your big pieces at the beginning because you might need them in the end. So when you're looking for a lawyer, shop it around. Find somebody that meets your personality, that you get along with, that you feel comfortable with is going to do a good job for you. And if there's anything in your mind, it's like, I don't know about that guy or that girl, bounce. There's a million of us out there. Go find somebody else that you think that you're a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to go a little bit further too on the advocacy side of things, I think life and law in general is changing. Obviously, artificial intelligence is here. It's not going anywhere. It's something that we've all got to learn to use and sort of embrace. You and I already use it in our marketing. But in the actual area of law, there are law firms out there. I watched another lawyer's podcast last night talking about this, that law firms are using AI to draft their demand letters. They're using it to draft their complaints. Foolishly, they're using it to draft their briefs. And there's some judges that have called them on it for using bad law and stuff like that. But artificial intelligence is here, and it is running law firms. Some law firms, not all of them. But a computer can't be an advocate. They don't know the difference between being an advocate and being aggressive. They're just putting words on paper. Yeah. And I think that's why we'll always be able to beat the computers, is because we can have this personal level where we come in and we look at a situation and we can actually push the needs of our client, where a computer can't do that. So maybe ask that question too. If somebody's shopping around for a lawyer, how much AI are you using? Are you going to draft this letter, or is it a computer? To be a proper advocate, I think you've got to be able to kind of get in the weeds. You've got to get to know this person or your client on a very personal level, understand what they're going through. Allow yourself to walk a mile in their shoes, because like you said earlier, everybody we deal with is going through something. Right. Whether it's just a sprained ankle or whether it's their dad just died in a car wreck. You've got that big of a spectrum. You've got to be able to understand what they're going through. I've had back surgery. I get it. Back pain is the absolute worst. I've been able to literally walk a mile in those shoes. So when somebody tells me their lumbar spine is hurting, I can relate. And I think that's important for me to be able to go in and look at the defense attorney and be like, you've never had back pain. You don't get this. This is the worst imaginable thing that you can come up with. Obviously, I've never had a kid. I hear that's worse. But, to be able to really understand what they're going through, understand them on a personal level, that's how you become a good advocate. Computers aren't going to be able to do that.
Yeah, cautionary tale in the news recently where that attorney used it to AI to write a brief, and the cases were made up.
Cited incorrect law or made up law.
Be careful about that.
I don't think he's practicing anymore.
But great point about what you were talking about, the big picture there. The old adage is true. You catch more flies with honey.
Yeah.
But occasionally you got to be ready to set off the raid bombs.
Yeah.
But, it's important for people to pick their lawyer based on the personality.
Sure.
They can, someone they can appreciate, someone that cares, someone that will advocate for them and understand what they're going through. If you want somebody that's a bridge burner and is going to, come in guns a-blazing, they're out there.
Yep. Not us, but they're out there.
Yeah. If you want a schemer, they exist as well. Not us. We're the chess players. But if you want to find a lawyer that can do everything, who you feel comfortable with, that will advocate for you, tell your story, uncover the information you want to uncover.
Right.
I feel like that's us.
Yeah, I do too. I think that's probably the thing that we're best at, is just listening, understanding, and then developing a plan. Sometimes it's more often than not, it's not rocket science. Right. You can figure out a good plan and a way to relate to that person and really push them through. But I agree with you. I think we are counselors and advocates before we're anything else, and that's what we do so well.
Yeah.
All right, well, cool. I think that's probably a good place to sign this one off, episode 4, The Advocate. As always, if you've been injured, or if anybody that you know or love has been injured, feel free to give us a call. Happy to answer questions, meet with you, talk to you, tell you how we can advocate for you. Some big news on our end. Next week we are moving locations. We're coming back to downtown Cumming. Pretty excited about that. So we'll give you guys a live tour of the office maybe one day, and certainly you'll see some social media stuff about the move. But if we can help you in any way, give us a call, 678-736-5445. You can find us at bettismusgrove.com and on social or Facebook and Instagram at Bettis Musgrove. But until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and God bless.